Today, I have the honor and privilege to sit down and interview the lead member of this band. And I'm like ultimately excited. And I will also reveal this song.
You're getting closer to the storm, but I'm not raining. It only hurts you when you pour your heart on me.
But wait! Easy. My name is Tim, and this is Discovering the Scene. I plan on bringing you the best rock and metal bands that the underground has to offer. I feel like these guys put in more work than some of the pros and get far less credit for it. And that's enough about me. Let's go to the interview room and discover our great artist. Today we have a very special guest with us, and you are?
My name's Brandon Bell.
All right. What is your band's name?
Right now, I've got a group called Summon the Moon.
Is that a band that's actually local to Murfreesboro or Nashville? Where do you hail from?
Just kind of middle Tennessee area. I mean, I'm in Murfreesboro, but I've got a member out in Nashville, and one of my members used to live in Nashville, so we're kind of just this area.
Good deal. I guess we could start off with humble beginnings of yourself. What age did you start getting into music, and what instrument did you learn on first?
Uh, well, it all really started when I was, I don't know, less than 10 years old. It's probably like 8 or 9, something like that. My mom got me in piano lessons, and
Gotcha.
I did that from a pretty young age. It gave me a good background. I actually, most of the time I took it, I hated it until like the last year I took it. I think I was like 11 or 12, something like that, and that's when I started realizing, oh, I'm actually getting kind of good at this, and I might actually pursue this a little. Then my mom said, you're at an age now you don't have to take it anymore if you don't want to, but she said I encourage you to still, uh, keep learning some instruments. So that's when I picked up bass guitar. I started taking lessons then, and that was my primary instrument for years.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And for the audience, I used to live in Nashville, and Brandon and I used to play in different bands together
Yep.
and had some pretty good shows together.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you were in a different band at that time, and what was the name of that band?
That was Stigma Strain.
Yeah, that was a great band too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still listen to that EP every now and then. Still proud of what we did.
So, who's some of your influences in your music?
Man, that's such a hard question to answer. For me, it's because it's kind of broad. I listen to all kinds of stuff. I guess if you were to kind of hear the influences in what I write, with Some in the Moon, a lot of my roots go back to the '90s. That's whenever I was first learning a lot of my formative years with learning guitar and bass guitar and songwriting. Like I was in a I was in junior high and high school in the '90s, so that was when I was first doing a lot of my first bands and really learning stuff. And
Hmm.
a lot of your experiences at that time of your life really kind of stick with you. I've been told that even now, the music I'm writing now, I still apparently have some of that '90s vibe to it. But and when you're talking about that, you're talking about like back then, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, you know, Then later, I really got into like Guns N' Roses is a big one for me.
Hmm.
But then after high school, I got into this thing where I really just got into kind of rap metal. That it had a big resurgence. I was a big fan of POD.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Yep. Limp Bizkit, of course. I mean, it's you look back at that a little bit now, and it's a little cheesy, but I mean, so was '80s metal.
Yeah,
Like that's part of the fun, and you can't deny they ruled the world at one time.
sure,
Yeah,
sure. They definitely had their time in the sun for sure. Don't
yeah,
really hear too much out of them now though.
yeah. They're doing a little bit, but I think it's more of a just a nostalgia reunion thing. But I guess more modern bands now, like a lot of what I listen to is, really a lot of the bands that you hear on Octane, like Memphis Mayfire. I Prevail, a lot of that line of group of bands that's coming up right now is really what's kind of been on my listening radar here lately.
So let's get into the band Summon the Moon. So how long has this band been established? You said since COVID, right?
Yeah, it started out there, and the first album, all it was going to be, all I thought it was going to be, is I was just for fun while we were in lockdown. write some songs, and I saw it as an opportunity to maybe work with some musicians I hadn't worked with before because it wasn't a band, so I didn't have like one guy dedicated to playing the guitar and this and that, you know. So that first album, except for one song, every song features at least one uh, feature of some kind, either vocals or lead guitar. Um, and then I knew I wanted us to play that first album out live for the album release because right around the time it came out, there was restricted lifts on the lockdown. So we
Hmm.
started being able to get out in some kind of limited way. And so I got my brother, who's been playing drums with me, to back me up for that show, and my buddy Chad Grant, who played bass with me in Killing Grace. I got him to come play with me too, and I was playing guitar and singing, and so it was just three of us up there all night, and then we had our guest performers coming on off the stage, and we had a good night, and had a good time, and I kind of thought that'd be the end of it. I figured we'd push it a little more on the internet, but um, that band, it was never. We never really sat down and said, "Let's be a band." They just.
Right.
I wrote this music, and we were all wanting to get out and play, and they. So anyway, we did that, and then a few months later, we started having people hit me up to see if some of the Moon wanted to play. It's like, well, I don't know how that's going to work because I got like 15 people on that album, like,
Right.
and so we I talked to Danny and Chad, and they were down. They wanted to play, and
Cool.
so I just kind of reached out to started reaching out to people on the album to see if there was somebody that just wanted to play lead guitar. Because for me, I can play guitar, but like I mentioned earlier, bass was always my primary instrument. So guitar for me has always kind of been like a songwriting tool. I've never considered myself a shredder or anything like that.
Right.
I've always it's not that I haven't tried to learn it. Just it's just not my thing. I'd rather sing and let a more experienced player handle the heavy lifting on the guitar.
Very cool, man. I love it. Now, what would you consider your genre to be?
Uh, I usually just throw a blanket at a hard rock genre on it because I mean
Okay.
the music. I mean you can if you listen to it. I wouldn't call it a metal band, but there are some metal things in there, but I mean, it's a little heavier than what I consider just a standard rock band. We could deep dive into subgenres. I know metal guys
Yeah.
like to do that. We could be real douchebags about it, but for
Right.
me, I just call it hard rock and call it a day.
Yeah, 100%. I'm loving it. And how many albums do you currently have with this band?
We got two full albums out. We got the first one that came out in COVID, Gemini Ascension. And then the second one came out. I think we released that in 2023. It's been at least a year. That's the Persona album, and we're working on a third one right now. Just
Very cool.
yeah, I don't have a release date on it yet because one of the nice things about this band is it's been an opportunity to just do things how I want to do it. So we're not putting a lot of pressure on release dates and timetables and things like that. We just kind of do them when we're ready to do them. So,
Very cool. I love it. I love it. That's the best when you're doing something you love. Of course, you
mm,
got your day job, so
right.
you want to be able to you know fulfill your day job because you got to eat, you got to pay your
Yeah.
bills, which is, I think, the worst part about being a musician.
Yeah.
The day job actually cuts right into the middle of your creativity.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So like I was actually talking to my drummer about this the other day. So this new album we've been working on, have him do it on the weekends and when it can. And so but in a day, sometimes in a weekend, but sometimes in a day, I can get a whole song done. And I think
Hmm.
about that. It's like this is just like stealing time on the weekends when I don't have anything going on. If I just had like a full week or 2 weeks with no work and nothing, no bills to worry about, like how much could we get done as musicians if we could just
Hmm.
focus on that all the time?
Hmm. I
You know?
agree. I agree. Especially like when you get into that creative mode and it just seems like everything's firing off at once. You want to
Yeah.
be able to do it, but then you have to hit the alarm clock, get up, go to work. Fuck.
Hmm.
That's just part of it. What do you feel like the biggest challenges are facing indie musicians today?
Well, I mean, there are a few things. One, it's perpetually always going to be a challenge is the money,
Hmm.
because no matter how much you want your art to stand on its own, it takes money to to create it, to get it to a professional format,
Hmm.
to market it. So we talked about earlier. You you gotta have a job, and you gotta have a job that pays well enough to not just pay your bills. I spent a lot of my time when I was younger, but actually most of the time that me and you were playing shows together, where like I wasn't making any money, but I had a job that allowed me the flexibility to go play music whenever,
Right.
which was great until my amp broke, or I needed a new guitar or something, and then what do you do? Because I just paid bills and I don't have another check coming for 2 weeks, and that money's pretty much spent already.
Hmm. It's
So
tough.
yeah, so I
It's
mean,
very challenging.
something I wish I could have told myself when I was younger was, instead of taking the approach that I did, which was to have try to get to a point where my music funded my life. I
Hmm.
wish I had started by having my life fund my music. Start out,
Yeah.
get some kind of reliable income, and then once you've got that, put that money into making your music have the best opportunity it can. Because that's another thing I was going to say. Challenges to musicians now is everything we have on social media platforms and streaming services. It's fantastic that it's presented opportunity for everyone to have a voice, but
Hmm.
what it's also created is when you've got that many people yelling at one time, it's hard to hear any one person.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, in ways it's made it easier, but it's also made it more competitive. Because used to be, you worked till you got to like this small group, and then from there you kind of duked it out, and now everyone is competing to be heard with the entire world.
Oh yeah.
And I hate to use the word competing, because to me, I gave up on that a long time ago, trying to be
Oh
the
yeah. Sure.
best and be the one to make it. Like and if I had my druthers, every musician would just have all the money they need to live and just be able to play music all the time.
How has the local scene changed since COVID hit?
Uh, it probably depends on who you ask. I think I have seen a shift in certain musical preferences and shows late since COVID, because right around the time COVID was shutting everything down, and then right when it opened back up, we saw a big I guess surgence of these shows, and I've played quite a few of them. Of shows that they feature local musicians, but it's cover shows, and it's kind of like a theme night.
Hmm.
Like there's one that Mike Ritchie.
Yeah.
He does one regular. We just did one not too long called Emo Night, where like the entire theme of the night was emo songs, and like I got up there and played bass on a few things, and almost none of us were in the same band together. We just signed up for some songs and got on stage, and it was just a revolving door of talent from Nashville. Um, and every time we do that is for some kind of charity fundraiser thing. So
Right.
everybody has a good time. Money goes to a good place. And those things, man, people show up for those things.
Yeah.
You get a theme night, where people are getting to have some nostalgia, and all their, like, not just five of their friends, like all of their friends are playing.
Hmm.
And that's become a really popular thing. The last show that I played before COVID shut everything down was actually one of those at Exit Inn in Nashville, and because we were the only game in town that night. I think that was the last place to shut their doors before COVID, so everybody was there. And I think that
Get that
image
one
of
last
that,
one in.
yeah, I think that image of the success of that show burned into people's brains. Where when they did another one after things opened back up again, it's just the same result over and over. And you still see people going to local original shows. I mean, we're fortunate to still have a pretty consistent crowd. There's several other bands around that are still doing it, but if you're looking for shows that draw like big numbers, like me and you used to play for it, like the Rutledge back in the day,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean that's the kind of show that's getting that right now. I mean, the music scene, it changes, and that's what's popular right now.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. But I tell you what, it's been really great to do those too, because you get on shows like that and you play with musicians you never would have played with before, and you get to meet people you never would have,
Hmm.
and it's great for, I mean, not just networking, but just kind of getting to know your scene. Every time, as long as
Oh
I've
yeah.
been here, as many people as I know, somehow I still go out to shows like that and other things, and find out not just that there's other people or bands I don't know. But there's this whole other scene in town I don't know anything about that's going on, and they're drawing numbers. It's not like they're this secret underground playing in their mom's basement. Like they're packing houses.
Wow.
And so it's a good opportunity to expand your your reach, your
Oh yeah,
people you know.
absolutely. Yeah, I know when you and I were playing and the other bands is like we were pretty much metal bands,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much our crowd, and
Mm.
we were drawing quite a few people, you
Yeah.
know. But I've been to other shows like just like you were saying, like karaoke or benefits, and it's like, who are all these people? I've never seen any of these people before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And as far as the venues around town, I know a lot of them shut down. Some of
Yeah.
them have opened. What do you see there? I mean, like, what venues are to play in Nashville these days?
I mentioned Exodus earlier. It's still around.
It's still
Different,
open.
yeah, different owners. They changed ownership not that long ago, but
Okay.
they're still having shows. The End is still around.
Wow.
So you got the Rock Block, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Let's see, Cobra. I don't know if check Cobra out. Used to be Fubar. Uh,
Fubar. Wow, I haven't heard that name in forever.
yeah, they're still doing shows. We've played there not too long ago.
I don't know if it's still the same way in Nashville, but usually the if you have a four band slot, the third slot was always a headlining slot. Then the poor band that had to go on after
Uh
you.
huh. Yep. Yeah, and some people still do that. Well, you mentioned you asked about how things have changed since COVID. That's definitely something that's been different. Most places shut down earlier than it used to. I mean, you
Yeah,
remember back in the day. I mean, it was standard. The show was going till the last call. I mean, we weren't loading out till 3 in the morning. You know, I mean,
it was painful.
yeah, and that's and that's a lot of why we book shows that way because the headliner didn't want to play that late. They want to play in that prime time spot, and
Mm-hmm.
then the last band would be the one that just basically filled out the time that the venue required music to be going on.
Right.
And
Right.
now a lot of places they shut down around like midnight or 1. I mean, some of them still stay open pretty late, but
Mm-hmm.
now I've seen a lot more trends where the headlining band is actually the last band now, which I prefer. I mean
It makes sense, right?
yeah, I mean, if you're going to model like the professional model, I mean, that's what they do. Like you wouldn't go see Motley Crue on their reunion tour and then see like some local band play after them. Like, who's staying for that?
Right. Nobody.
The only people stick around are throwing beer bottles at them.
Get him.
Yeah.
Love that stuff. Now, do you have any like pre-show rituals? I know some bands kind of like musicians kind of get in that weird trance before stage. They have to do some kind of weird thing that before the show. I never had that. I just got up on stage and played. Have a beer, go play.
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to have something like that. There was like a whole stretching routine I'd do, and there's certain things I would drink. Like there was a time, one band I used to be in, we used to all do a shot of Fireball or Jaeger before we went on, depending on
Ooh,
who was tired of
Jaeger.
Fireball that night. It's two things you eventually get sick of, so we would go back and forth on them.
I tell you, just the thought of Jaeger. Oh, just like you go out, you play a show. Jaeger bombs are a big thing, and Jaeger
Hmm.
sweat would be the thing, and people would smell like that stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, still turns my stomach to this day.
Yep.
And the Jaeger breath. Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. It stayed with you.
it did.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The old
Memories.
licorice mouth.
Now, as far as negativity and stuff like that, have you ever had a major mishap on stage? And if you did, how did you resolve it? Did it like kill the song, or did you have to just grin and bear it? Or
Uh, well, you play long enough, you have all those things.
yeah,
If I were to cite something in Some of the Moon, there's actually, it's funny because we premiered the video, the storm. There's a thing in it at the end that if we don't catch it, the song kind of gets stuck on a loop and it's hard to end.
okay,
um, so there's a thing when you listen to it. Halfway through the guitar solo section, there's a part where the rhythm section just kind of starts getting choppy instead of just wide open strumming, and we revisit that when we end the song, the last chorus, and that leads up until the outro. But if we miss that chop on the last chorus,
hmm
that chop is what lets us build up to the stop that goes into the outro. And without that stop, we don't have anything to do but just keep playing the chorus over and over. And that's happened a few times. We've pretty much got it. We got it thumbed in now, dialed in now because it happened a couple times. But the first couple times it did happen on stage, it was one of those things we kind of the thing you're not supposed to do. We all turned around and looked at each other like, "What's going?" Uh, but then but when that happens, most of the time, I mean, with this band being what it is, the most of the time, I think a lot of times they look to me whenever we're doing stuff like that. I'm kind of like the band leader. So when we have those things happen now, I kind of just follow Danny, my drummer. He's going to get us out of this, and eventually Danny knows what to hit to stop the song. And once he gets there, we just, we chug it out till the end.
There you go.
But we had that happen, I think, 2 or 3 times. The first time just completely caught us off. It was actually at the album release for the second album for Persona,
Hmm.
and that caught us completely off guard because at that point, that band had been playing the same set from the first album for over a year, so mistakes just didn't happen. We were so tight, and if they did, like we were gone and it was over. You didn't even think
Right.
we just kind of got to where we worked as a machine,
Hmm.
and then we hit that second album the first night playing it out, like, oh, I forgot what that feels like. We made a mistake. But things didn't fall apart. We never had to stop playing. We just rocked on, and the song lasted about another minute longer than it needed to. But
Hey, the
we got
show
out.
must go on, right?
Yeah, we got out of it. We were the last band. It was fine.
That's
We
good.
weren't
That's
make we
good.
weren't making anybody wait on us.
Far as the most memorable show that you've had with Some of the Moon.
Oh man, I've had some really great shows with this band. That's something I've when I was younger, I used to every time someone offered me a show, I just said yes. And at
Hmm.
some point you need to do that when you're starting out.
When you're
But
starting out, yeah.
yeah, but when you do that, over half the shows you play usually end up being like on a Tuesday at a bar that nobody's there because everybody's working. And you play for the other bands and their girlfriends, and
Yep.
hope that everybody there bought enough beer for the owner to have you back on a night where some people might show up.
Right.
Um, these days I don't do that as much because I've already done that. Like not that there's not more chance to expand and grow and get a bigger reach for the band. I still want to do
Hmm.
all that, but I mean, I also at this point can suss out a bad gig offer when it comes to the table. I mean,
Right.
and I say bad. Like I said earlier, when you're starting out, you got to do those kind of
You
shows.
got to.
What I consider would be a bad show is a great opportunity for someone who's starting out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a position now, fortunately, where I know enough people who've been playing long enough where I've got a couple places where I can book a Saturday without too much hassle. Um, but all that to say, this Sun on the Moon, all the shows we've played, with very few exceptions, all of them had something that were worthwhile about them, whether it was a band we want to play with, a venue we want to get in at, or just a show that we just thought would just be a lot of fun to do.
Hmm.
Or obviously, get to play in front of a big crowd. You see those things. But I think for me, of all the ones we've done, I mean, the most memorable one for me might be that very first show, man.
Yeah.
When we dropped when the first album release, because that was something I had thought about doing for years. Like just being ballsy enough to just make my own album, just put it out
Hmm.
there and say I can do this. I believe in myself. I believe in my songs. I'm just gonna put it out there. And part of that was technology. Back when I
Yeah.
first had that idea, recording at home was so much more expensive and impractical than it is now.
Hmm.
But that first show when we released the first album, like it all just went off without a hitch, man. And
Good deal.
I had good musicians behind me, and all the guests, the features showed up, and they all rocked it, and just it's good energy in the room. There were some people there I didn't know, but largely because of it being the kind of show it was, I was just surrounded by friends, and everybody was just so gracious with all of those songs, and it was a culmination of a lot of things that I'd wanted to do for a long time. Um,
Good deal.
we've had lots of great shows since, and arguably better shows since then. But I'm still really, really proud of that one.
Good deal. All right. Well, without further ado, I believe now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the song The Storm by Sun and the Moon.
I know you wanted to believe in a light that won't show that there was more to you and me. Maybe I could be more, but there's a darker side to see. How your love could be war, and now you're breaking down. You're getting closer to the storm, but I'm not raining. It only hurts you when you pour your heart on me. With all that you should know, you should be letting go. You're getting closer to the storm. Deep down, I know you'll never flee from a light that will show. But now I have to set you free. There will never be more. You'll never feel the way I grieve, and I can't take the war. And now I'm breaking down. You're getting closer to the storm, but I'm not raining. It only hurts you when you pour your heart on me. With all that you should know, you should be letting go. You're getting closer to the storm. You're getting closer to the storm, but I'm not raining. It only hurts you when you pour your heart on me. With all that you should know, you should be letting go. You're getting closer to the storm.
Man, that was a great song, man. I
Thank
was
you.
rocking out to that. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Definitely enjoyed that, and I think the fans will definitely enjoy that as well. Yeah, I could see that you put a lot of effort into that. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we're gonna have a few little fun questions here for you. If you could open for any artist, past or present, with this band, who would it be?
Oh my goodness.
No
Past or
pressure.
present. Yeah. Oh, I'd like to. There's one band I'd like to say, but they also say never meet your heroes. I don't know if they would be fun to perform with. Uh, We mentioned influences earlier. I mean, Guns N' Roses back in their their golden era, I guess. Their uh, that I feel like that'd be an experience, but I also feel like I'd probably walk away angry from that. Just what I hear about
Right.
backstage stories and things like that. Uh, but oh man,
There's so many, I know,
there
right?
are, man. And with this band too, that's what I'm trying to think of something that would fit with this band. Man, I mean, talking about modern stuff, I think more than anything, because even this band has some influences. I feel like it's got kind of a modern edge to it. I'd like to do a show with some of those bands that are going on right now. Like the first album, I listened to a lot of Memphis Mayfire. I
Hmm.
think that'd be fun. I Prevail's killing it right now, and that would be awesome. I really think this band, it would be cool to do something with Beartooth if you're familiar with them.
Don't think I've
Um,
ever heard of them, but I'll write
they're,
that down for
they're one
sure.
of them playing on Octane a lot. His not to promote another band, but his story for that band's kind of similar. He was, as I understand, he was playing guitar with another band, and then this was his first stepping out, writing the music, recording it. Like that's his baby, you know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Very cool.
yeah, I started hearing about that after I just started working on the first album. I was like, oh, okay, so someone else is doing this, and they're doing big things. So maybe this is a plausible avenue.
That's cool, man. Now, kind of in that same vein, what's a guilty pleasure song or artist that is not in your preferred genre that you listen to?
Uh, so for a long time, the guilty pleasure, I used to apply that to My Chemical Romance. I think just because they were part of the emo thing back when I was Stigma Strain days, and before then, and even a little after. Um, he, Maybe it was just our age or something, but we just played with so many people that, right, and interact with so many people that were like real metal guys, you know. And
Hmm.
so you get anything that didn't fit into their definition of what that was, then it was just shit, you know.
Right.
And but My Chemical Romance, I actually really dig them, and mostly, I mean, I like their music, but I've always really enjoyed his lyrics. I think he's got very intelligent songwriting when it comes to the lyrics and the words. And his delivery of it too is it's very emotional. And then of course I found out later that he also writes stories and comics and things like that.
Did
Um,
not know that either.
yeah, yeah. Again, plugging something else, but
It's all right.
that
This is your
there's a
show right
show on
now.
there's a show on Netflix that I think he actually wrote, or it's based on a comic he wrote.
What advice would you give to any up and coming artist or new band?
Uh, well, some of the stuff. I guess really the first thing I would say is if you're gonna do anything with your music, make sure you've got the funds to do it. You know, whether
Mm,
that's getting a job or getting an investor. I recommend. I guess to start off, anything you do in music, I recommend doing as much of it for yourself as you can before you start handing off responsibilities to other people or an
mm,
outside party. Like if you have the ability, I mean, it all starts if you have the ability to write your music. Well, write your music. I mean, it
mm-hmm.
takes some effort, but now you own your music. You don't have to pay someone else for the right to play that music.
Right.
You know, recording your music. I mean, even if you can't record yourself, find a way to self fund the recording so that
Hmm.
you own the rights to that recording. It back in the day, it used to be a very glamorous thing to say we got signed, we're on a label, and there's still perks to that, but
Hmm.
anybody that's been there knows that that's not what we all thought it was going to be. I mean, not
Right.
I say not until a certain level, but even the higher you go, I'm sure the more other things there are, as it typically is.
Yeah. Too
Um,
many people with their hands out wanting your money.
yeah, yeah. Um, and streaming and socials have provided an avenue for people to do that for less money than they used to. But if you want it to have reach, you still got to spend that money.
You got to spend it, unfortunately. And
Yeah,
I do think that's like some of the best advice ever because for me personally, I was in the same boat that you were. I had like an entry level job. I was a high school dropout. I didn't go back to school for any reason. And later on, I had to, and I'm actually more grateful for it now because I couldn't imagine living life today on the salary that I was working on before. It was just
Oh yeah.
terrible. So it's just like everything's gone expensive as all get out. So it's like you got to have money to live, you got to have money to play,
Hmm.
and you got to have money to fund the band. And if it's going to be, for example, your band only, then that's all the money coming out of your pocket. But if you got a group of people that have the name on it as well, then it's good to like pull all that money so it's just not coming from one source.
Right. Yeah.
So now, final question. Where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you and book shows or just talk to you? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, we are on the socials. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We are on YouTube. You can stream us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. I mean, all the things. If you look for Some in the Moon, you will find us.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, this has been a wonderful interview, man. I thank you for gracing me with your presence, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, back here in the studio. Was that not an awesome and fun interview? I love getting to know the artists and figuring out where they come from. Yeah, I may know Brandon, but there's a lot of his details that I really didn't know and I learned today, actually. And I have to say, the storm blew me away. Yeah, we're having fun here. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding a lot of joy listening to stuff that's not on the radio today. And let me know down below where you've been listening to music lately. And if this video hit all the right notes of you, show me some of that like and subscribe love. And with that support, that helps us keep the drummer from signing up to make an OnlyFans account. I'm not judging, just trying to do the band a favor here. Rotten drummers. It's hard doing that with a straight face. Ugh.